So you're ready to start your amazing, compelling slide deck. Where are you going to start? With early stage investment, people are interested in supporting ideas that align with the problems that they're trying to resolve in the world. If you think about social enterprise, let's park the enterprise bit for a minute and just talk about the social piece. We'll be answering 4 questions to start to understand how your social enterprise functions. Really, at its most basic level, you need to be able to say, what problem are you solving for who? You should be able to answer that like really succinctly, right? So that's the kind of one that you can test with, maybe there's people in your family that know nothing about what you're talking about and you go and talk to them about it, and if they get it, okay, you're on. For example, someone may be interested in solving mental health issues, okay, for young disadvantaged people. Then you can go and find a philanthropist or a foundation or a grant funder who either cares about mental health issues or cares about young disadvantaged people. Okay? Ideally, you find someone who cares about both. After you've answered that question, to go a little bit deeper though, and this for me is like critically important. Pamela Hartigan, who unfortunately passed away last year, used to talk about this idea of apprenticing the problem. I sort of use a different terminology, which is, what right do you have to solve that problem? And what I mean by that is there's no shortage of people that kind of from their armchair see an issue on the news and kind of go, oh, well, surely they could just do X, or surely we could just do Y. But for any problem worth solving, that's not going to be the answer, okay? For any problem worth solving, it's going to be complex. And what right do you have to solve that problem is often how well do you understand the complexity of the problem that you're trying to solve. So there's a whole range of issues in the world that even though I might immediately form an opinion about, I have no right to try and solve because I just don't understand the complexity of them. I haven't lived them. I don't know what those people are feeling. I don't know what their environment is like. I don't know what the relationships in their community are like. I don't know the hardship they've been through. You know, it doesn't have to mean that you've experienced those issues firsthand, but maybe you've worked with people that have experienced those issues for a long time. Maybe you've spent 5 years or 10 years or whatever the period of time is working with people that experience those issues. So unless you have a right to solve the problem, unless you really have understood the complexity of an issue, you know, I would kind of put a big stop sign up and go, like, go no further. If you really care about this, you better go back and apprentice that problem. So I think on the how you're solving this problem, you need to be able to articulate that quite simply and clearly. Now, obviously that skips over a lot of the complexity, right? So you need to understand the complexity. When you sit down in front of somebody, you know, you probably don't want to overwhelm them with all of that complexity too. You kind of got to let them pull that string and let them kind of, you know, go deeper as and when they see fit. You know, understanding how you're going to solve that problem, like what is your theory of change, is really important. But at what level? Like, is it for you know, is it in your local community? Is it, you know, for all of the young disadvantaged people in Melbourne? Is it for all of Victoria? Is it for all of Australia? Is it for, you're going to solve this problem for the entire world? Because obviously there are varying, you know, that becomes more and more and more complex the higher the order goes up, and you're getting then to like system level change. And system level change is really, really hard. And if you sit in front of somebody and say you're going to solve a problem for the entire world, they're probably not going to believe you. The reality is, because you're probably not going to be solving a problem for the entire world. I think we're getting a lot better, and I would encourage every one of you to think about this, is to understand what potential damage you could be doing. Whenever you change something, there is always winners and losers. Otherwise, you're not changing anything, right? So very few times there's everybody wins. So I think one, understanding up front what the potential negative impact of what you're doing could have. But even more important is, as you go, listening to the feedback, to whatever market you're in is telling you, or what the feedback loop is providing you, to understand what damage you may be causing is critically important.
Okay, so let's actually do this. Open up the template and try it out. Notice how these are like sentences. They're not giant long manifestos. The one thing I really take away from what Dan says is that you have to be able to explain what you're doing succinctly. A succinct understanding of the problem and the solution is really what the investors are going to look to know.
If you can really articulate what problem you're trying to solve well, the solution that you have right now in your head as an idea is probably not the one that you end up implementing. It's going to change, it's going to evolve, it's going to adapt, you're going to pivot, and you need to be able to do that. If you fall in love with the solution that you have, yeah, sure, you might bring something to market, but it may not be fit for purpose anymore. It may not be the thing that actually solves the problem you set out to achieve. The folks you're pitching to know about the complexity of the problem. That's why they're trying to solve it too. It's much more important that you show them that you understand the problem in the space that you're operating. One of the things that I encourage all of you to do is to fall in love with the problem.